And we are back. Welcome to my predictions for Game Week 3 in the Premier League. And thank you for all the amazing support you have given this series already this season. We've had over 1,000 views on both Game Week 1 and Game Week 2. So thank you once again for all your support. And don't forget to drop a like on this video if you have been enjoying this series. And subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Let's just get straight in to my predictions for this upcoming weekend. And we kick off with tonight's game, which is Chelsea up against Luton Town. Two teams that have made very poor starts to the season, it has to be said. Chelsea drawing at home, then being very comfortably beaten away. Luton getting beaten away in their opening fixture and then not playing last weekend due to Kenilworth Road not being Premier League ready just yet. So it is an interesting one to call. I think Chelsea will have to be the heavy favourites for this one. They have played reasonably well. They just haven't defended well and they haven't put the ball in the net. But their actual sort of like build-up play has been good. It's just not quite happened for them. And like I say, I watched the Brighton game against Luton and they were very, very poor. They got picked apart at times. And again, offensively, they weren't the greatest. So very interesting to decide where this one's going to go. I'm going to have to go for Chelsea, given the fact that they are a massive Premier League team and Luton, of course, are the new boys. I think both teams are going to score, though. Like I said, I don't think either team have defended particularly well in these opening two fixtures. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Chelsea. I think they should, absolutely should be taking this one comfortably tonight. But you just never know. Luton are more than capable of pulling off a result. They were, of course, the best team away from home in the Championship last season. Moving on to Saturday then, and we start with the early kickoff, which will this time be taking place between Bournemouth and Tottenham. Tottenham won their opening 3 games of last season, and I'm backing them to win their opening 3 games of this season as well. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Spurs. I think it'll be a tight game. There's question marks over James Maddison's fitness, whether or not he will be available. He did leave the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium after that Manchester United game with his foot in a boot. So it'll be interesting to see if he is available or not, and it'll be even more interesting to see who plays instead of him if he doesn't play. Bournemouth have actually made a pretty good start to the season. They've played well in their opening games. They certainly caused Liverpool a whole load of problems at Anfield last weekend. So they could certainly cause Spurs some problems tomorrow. But I just think Spurs will have too much quality in the end. On to the 3 o'clock kickoffs, and we start off with Arsenal against Fulham. Arsenal, another side that have won their opening 2 fixtures. Fulham, who won their opener away at Everton and then got hammered at home to Brentford last weekend. So there's not really much that I can say about Fulham this week. They've obviously now officially lost Alexander Mitrovic to Saudi Arabia, so he will not be available to them. So they're lacking a striker. They're obviously lacking Tim Ream in defence as well after he got sent off. So a lot of things in favour of Arsenal, who potentially have Gabriel Jesus back as well. He did train yesterday, but I don't think he'll be fit enough, certainly not to start the game. He might be available from the bench, but I think we all know that this is realistically a game that Arsenal should be winning, and I'm going to back them to do so, and I'm going to go for 3-0 to Arsenal in that one. Next up is Brentford, and they take on Crystal Palace, and again, two sides that I think have made fairly decent starts to the season. One side that has done very well in terms of the actual result, though, and one side that hasn't in terms of the results, and that is, of course, Crystal Palace, who have won but then lost. So I think Brentford again have to be the strong favourites for this one. They've played some fantastic football. It doesn't look like the loss of Ivan Toney has affected them in the slightest. They're still pushing very hard to sign Nico Gonzalez from Fiorentina, but it looks like Fiorentina are absolutely putting their foot down that he is not for sale. So it'll be interesting to see if Brentford move to another target, but I don't think they're going to need him to beat Crystal Palace this weekend. I think Brentford will get the job done, and I'm going to go for 2-0 to the Bees in that one. Next up is Everton and Wolverhampton Wanderers. And when you talk about sides that have made poor starts to the season, I think there are no worse starters so far than Everton and Wolves. Both sides have played absolutely atrociously in their opening 2 fixtures in terms of the actual result. Wolves played very well at Old Trafford, as we spoke about last week, but could not put the ball in the net to save their lives and then got very easily beaten by Brighton last weekend. Everton got beat at home by Fulham without scoring and then got absolutely hammered by Villa without scoring as well. So you're looking at two sides that quite simply cannot score at the moment unless it doesn't really matter in the case of the Wolves goal against Brighton. So I can't really sit here in any good conscience and say that either side is going to score against the other in this fixture. So I'm just going to go for a 0-0 draw because I honestly think that is the most likely result as things stand right now. And as we all know, the moment you predict a 0-0 draw, there'll be a goal in the opening 30 seconds of the match. But that's just the way I see it right now. I don't think either team have enough quality in the attacking areas to cause enough problem to the respective defences. Next up, it is Manchester United against Nottingham Forest in a fixture that I was hoping was going to be an opportunity for Manchester United to bounce back from what has again been a poor start to the season. Lucky win against Wolves, embarrassed by Tottenham. If you want to see my reactions to both of those games, make sure you check them out on the channel. But as I was going to predict a relatively comfortable win for Manchester United against Nottingham Forest this weekend, the news broke last night that Luke Shaw has suffered a muscular injury that will keep him out for at least a month, which means that both Shaw and Malacia are now both injured for at least a month. They will not just miss the Nottingham Forest game, they will miss the game at the Emirates next weekend, as well as the international breaks and potentially the first couple of fixtures after those breaks as well. So Manchester United now don't have a left-back. Brandon Williams has literally just been loaned out to Ipswich yesterday morning, and now Shaw's picked up his injury, which leaves us with essentially either having to play Lisandro Martinez at left-back or playing young Alvaro Fernandez at left-back. And against a Forest side that, let's be honest, have started the season very well. They gave Arsenal a hell of a game 2 weeks ago, and they beat Sheffield United last week, and they really could cause Manchester United some problems, especially if they don't have a recognised left-back. The likes of Gibbs, White, Johnson, Elanga, the former Manchester United man, running down that side could cause some serious problems to a Manchester United side that has looked very, very dodgy. But given the fact that it is United at home to Forest, and I've got to be a little bit biased, I still have to say Manchester United win this game. But I'm going to make it very close, and I'm only going to go for 2-1 to Manchester United. Let me know your thoughts on that decision in the comments below, because genuinely Nottingham Forest could definitely get a result at Old Trafford this weekend. On to the evening game on Saturday, and it sees Brighton and Hove Albion taking on West Ham United, two sides that have both again made very good starts to the season. I don't think it's wrong to say any side has made a better start to the season than Brighton so far this season, and I expect that run to continue. They've played some fantastic football. Again, the losses of McAllister and Caicedo and potentially a couple of others just haven't affected them in the slightest. They have now, of course, lost Enciso due to what could be yet another ACL injury, but we shall see in that regard. But as we know with Brighton, someone comes out, someone else comes in, the system continues, they just carry on scoring and picking up the points. And as well as West Ham have started the season themselves, I don't think they're going to be able to get anything at the Amex this weekend. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. But in the end, I think Brighton are going to take it, and I'm going to go for 3-1 to Brighton in that one. On to Sunday, and the first game is Burnley taking on Aston Villa. I think despite how good Burnley are on the ball, I just don't think they're going to do anything against Aston Villa. I know Villa did have that massive hammering from Newcastle in the opening game of the season, but they seem to put those difficulties right against Everton last weekend, and then continued that good run of form, winning 4-0, like I say, against Everton last week, then winning 5-0 in their Europa Conference League game in the week. So I think they're going to be too much for Burnley. I think it'll be a tighter game. I think Burnley still need to adapt their style of play to the Premier League. I think the reason they got beaten so easily by Man City is because they tried to match them, and you just don't try and match Man City. They certainly could try and match Aston Villa and potentially get something, but I just think it'd be a bad idea. I'm going to go for 2-0 to Villa, and we shall see. As for the final promoted side, it is Sheffield United taking on Manchester City in the other game on Sunday. And again, let's be honest, if this is any other result than a Manchester City win, then fair play to Sheffield United for pulling off a result that I don't think anyone can realistically see coming. They'll do everything in their power to make it difficult, I'm sure, but City have started this season so comfortably. I think they've had an average of something like 75 to 80% possession in their opening two fixtures. They haven't even looked close to conceding in either of their two games so far, and they're just still scoring goals as easily as they come. So I'm going to go for 4-0 to Manchester City, and I say that with the greatest of respect to Sheffield United, but I don't think anyone can be too surprised that I've gone for 4-0 in that one. Finally then, the main event of the weekend, the evening game on Sunday, is Newcastle United taking on Liverpool. And honestly, after what I've seen from the opening two fixtures from both of these sides, I just don't think there's any result possible this weekend other than a Newcastle win. Liverpool have been rather lacklustre if you ask me. I think they were quite lucky to get a draw against Chelsea in the opening game, and I think they were very lucky to get a result against Bournemouth, given the fact that they gave away so many chances in that first half, and Bournemouth missed a fair few chances in the second half after Liverpool went down to 10 men, and it was only for Jota's sharp reactions they were able to get that third goal, and obviously the penalty was saved and then put in on the rebound. I just think Newcastle style of play, if they play the way they played against Aston Villa, I don't think Liverpool are going to offer too much resistance to them. They're still really struggling in terms of the midfield. It'd be interesting to see if Wataru Endo does start this game for Liverpool. I think he's going to have to. They can't afford to play too many attack-minded midfielders, and I just think Newcastle will end up getting the win. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Newcastle. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting game. But like I say, I just don't see any other result than a Newcastle win as things stand right now. But that'll be it for this weekend's predictions. Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments. I think it's going to be another very entertaining weekend of Premier League action. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you very soon.